It's going to wrap up with international news. Here's Juliana Olainka with Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom in London. Iran has accused the US of violating its airspace after it shot down an American military drone. The United States says the unmanned surveillance aircraft was flying over international waters over the Strait of Hormuz. The action has stoked tension between the two nations.
This drone was in international waters. Clearly, we have it all documented. It's documented scientifically, not just words. And they made a very bad mistake.
How will you respond, Mr. President? How will you respond?
You'll find out.
Are you willing to fight a war with Iran?
You'll find out. You'll find out. I mean, obviously, you know, we're not going to be talking too much about it. You're going to find out. They made a very big mistake.
Is this your first U-turn?
There are just two Conservatives left in the race to become the UK's next Prime Minister. Boris Johnson remains the front-runner. He's up against the Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt. They'll compete in a runoff where party members will be allowed to vote. The winner will be announced next month. UK arms sales to Saudi Arabia have been declared unlawful by the Court of Appeal in London. It's a win for campaigners who've argued that the weapons used by the Gulf state, which is engaged in a war with Yemen, may have contributed to indiscriminate civilian casualties. Judges ruled the licenses should be reviewed but won't be immediately suspended. The Prime Minister's office says the government's disappointed and will seek permission to appeal.
For 4 years now, people in Yemen have endured a terrible bombardment, and UK weapons have played a central role in that bombardment. Saudi-led forces have been using UK-made fighter jets, which have been dropping UK-made bombs and firing UK-made missiles. And no matter how many hospitals have been destroyed, no matter how many schools have been destroyed, the UK government has continued to sell those weapons.
4 human traffickers have been jailed for life in Hungary. They were convicted over the death of 71 migrants whose decomposing bodies were found crammed inside a truck on an Austrian motorway in 2015. The Afghan ringleader and 3 Bulgarian accomplices were found guilty of manslaughter for refusing to stop to let air in, despite the frantic pleas of those trapped inside.
Végigélték azt, ahogy családtagjaik, gyermekeik, ismerőseik egymás után halnak meg mellettük, és közben szembesültek azzal a ténnyel, hogy rájuk is elkerülhetetlenül ez a sors vár, csak is amiatt, mert az őket csempészők fontosabbnak tartották azt, hogy elkerüljék az esetleges lebukásukat, semmint 71 ember életet.
Dozens of migrants have been rescued from a dinghy in the Aegean Sea.
Wait, first the baby, give me the baby.
2 babies, 5 children and 12 women, 2 of whom were pregnant, were on board. They told the Portuguese maritime police they'd come from Afghanistan and Iraq. They've been taken to the island of Lesbos in Greece. China is working to boost ties with North Korea. President Xi Jinping is in Pyongyang for the country's first state visit in 14 years. He's there for 2 days and is expected to discuss the stalled talks over North Korea's nuclear program as well as economic issues. American officials expect Xi to make some progress on the nuclear issue, using it as leverage when trade talks resume. He's due to meet President Trump at the G20 summit in Japan next week. A former Interpol chief has admitted taking $2 million in bribes, according to a Chinese court. Meng Hongwei disappeared when he travelled to his home country from France. Interpol says he's resigned as president of the International Crime Fighting Agency after being detained by authorities last year. His wife, who's been granted asylum in France, says the charges against him are politically motivated. State media says a verdict will be announced at a later date. And a former US Marine being held in Russia on suspicion of spying is calling for international help. Paul Whelan, who holds US, British, Canadian and Irish passports, was detained in Moscow last December and is accused of espionage. He denies the charges against him, and during a court appearance he made a direct plea to President Trump.
Mr. President, we cannot keep America great unless we aggressively protect and defend American citizens wherever they are in the world.
Finally, the depths some people will go to create the perfect Trappicino. A Spanish winemaker has created a cellar 20 meters under the sea, aged for up to 18 months. He says the increased atmospheric pressure, darkness and temperature of the marine environment makes the liquid softer and silkier and easier to drink. The bottles retail between $60 and $100. And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Thanks, Juliana. Just before we go to sports news, the All Progressives Congress has condemned the inauguration of new state houses of assembly in Edo and Bauchi states, describing them as a charade. The party in a statement said, quote, "We viewed this illegality with shock and disappointment. It says, as a party, it's made a commitment to change. It strongly rejects any attempt to take a recourse to brigande of the past when democratic practices were defined by the inordinate whims of people in power." Now to sports news. Here's Ayotunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Amarachi. The Super Falcons of Nigeria have qualified for the knockout phase of the FIFA Women's World Cup as one of the third best placed teams. This followed the failure of Chile to beat Thailand by a 3-goal margin in their final group game. This means the African champions are likely to face top favorites Germany for a place in the quarterfinals in Grenoble on Saturday. And that's a wrap on sports news. The news at 10 continues.
News ends, actually. The main news again. Members of the Bauchi State House of Assembly today elected 2 speakers for the state's 9th Assembly following their separate inauguration sessions held by 11 lawmakers and 18 others from the All Progressives Congress. And that's News at 10. Thanks for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani. Good night.